Hey, thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm Chris Bianchi. We're already pretty deep into the winter season, but we have not done the official thing yet. I want to chat with my colleague, meteorologist Cory Reppenhagen here at 9 News about what you can expect snow-wise for the upcoming winter season. We're entering a third straight La Nina, which is usually bad news for Colorado snowfall, but we've generally speaking through late November gotten off to a decent start on the snow front so far this season. So, Cory, I mentioned that decent start as I bring you in here. Hello, by the way, but we've gotten off to a decent start through late November, which certainly didn't happen back in 2021, did it?
No, and since it didn't happen back in 2021, it almost seems overwhelming and shocking to just be kind of like having an average year so far. So, and I'm kind of encouraged by that, honestly, because when we go through a year like the fall season of 2021, it's painful and it makes you wonder, yeah, God, is this going to be the new norm where we don't get snow until Christmas from now on? But here we are back in a normal situation already. Well, only 1 year later, so it's encouraging to me.
Do you think that helps translate to a bigger season overall? Do you think that the reasonably okay start that we've gotten off to adjust your snowfall predictions for the upcoming winter season?
I don't think it changes the overall prediction of winter as far as the amount of snowfall. But one thing I think it does change is mountain snowpack, because we know that traditionally, when you have good snowpack on the ground in October and through the middle of November, you have a better opportunity, or at least a higher chance, to finish the season above average, because that snow that falls from November 15th through January 15th, when the season really starts to get kick-started, it is going to stay on the ground, as opposed to when the mountains are bare, darker in color. Honestly, it's all about albedo, the reflection of the sunlight. That those first few good snowfalls, half of that's going to melt away. But when you have good October snowpack and good early November snowpack, those initial storms, as we kind of get into the more traditional season here around Thanksgiving, those have a tendency to stay on the ground, and it increases your overall opportunity for winter snowpack to be a little higher than average.
So what's your overall hunch? Do the northern or southern mountains end up doing better in terms of snowpack this upcoming winter season?
Well, I think the northern mountains end up being much better overall, and that is based on the La Nina um, correlation, the teleconnection with La Nina, where it tends to have high pressure in the winter towards the southwest United States, and that high pressure will sometimes eat into snow pack as far north as Colorado. If you look at the NOAA's graphic for La Nina expectations for winter, it almost divides Colorado in half, where the further south you go, the more impact those high pressure zones have. And so it does make sense where if you're going to put a chart out there for gamblers, that the snowpack would favor the northern mountains a little more than the south.
So, and that seems pretty fair, and I will certainly have that chart for you. I guess one thing that comes to mind is you touched on this at the beginning. Now, heading into a third straight La Nina, how does that third straight La Nina factor into this, if at all?
Well, we don't have a lot of data. That's only the second or third time this has ever happened that we're aware of. So we don't really know if, do La Ninas, when they're consecutive, get worse and worse. Or what does make sense, though, is that we will snap out of, we'll transition out of La Nina, kind of like we did last year, but we really never completely left La Nina. It almost slowly transitioned to the neutral and then right back into La Nina. This year, and the computer forecast models that NOAA runs on the sea surface temperatures on the equatorial Pacific say this is that there will be more of a flash transition, a little bit of a sharper transition into neutral conditions. And so if that happens as early as February, I got to think that that could impact the late season snow in Colorado, which on the Front Range and the northern mountains and the Front Range and the Vail Summit zone tend to have their best snow after March 1st.
And hopefully we get some pretty decent late season snow as well. You haven't. I know we've been talking a lot about the mountains, and that's obviously where the snow really counts in terms of reservoirs, snowpack, the things that really do matter ultimately at the end of the day. I think front range snowfall, it's safe to say, I'm sure you agree, Cory, although there are drought implications, no doubt about it, for us here along the front range. It's a bit more of a fun thing, I suppose, or a bit more. You get what I'm saying, where it's not as directly impactful on our climate and our sustainability, I suppose, here in terms of that snowfall here along the front range. That said, for the Denver area, for the front range, what are your thoughts about the upcoming snow season for us?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it is kind of more of a novelty for us
That's the
down
word,
here.
novelty. Yeah.
Even though, we love to, just because we love it so much, we love to see that snow and we love to see the ground white over winter. But, it has great implications towards the drought and the soil conditions, our trees down here, but not as much of a water storage impact. But I do love to track that. And so let's take Denver, for instance, where we average about 56 inches of snow from September 1st to June 1st. And I think it's going to be right around that, although I would kind of hinge my thoughts to be just a little bit below 56 inches. And that is just because of the data that we have showing the connection between La Nina, and there's an overwhelmingly high percentage of La Ninas where Denver's and most of the Front Range, our snow is a little below the average. And so we're talking, 40 to 50 inches of snow for Denver on a season. And that is just slightly below average for us.
So, well, I'm going to ask you to give me a prediction. I'm going to put you on the hot seat here, Cory. Give it to me. Give the Denver snowfall prediction down to an inch for me. What is your prediction? I'll give you mine as well. So,
Okay.
And then, but I want you to start. Put you on the spot. Denver snowfall for this upcoming season.
Hey, as long as you're in the boat with me, brother. Well, I'm just going to stick with the preseason prediction of slightly below average. So I'll take 49 inches, and I realize that we're already almost up to 10 here as we get into the later part of November. It just seems like, our chances may not stay as active as they have been over the full winter. So I'm going to go with 49 inches of snow measured in Denver, which happens to be at the airport. And as far as the mountain snowpack goes, this will be an interesting one because you don't see people make predictions about SWE, but I'll take 15.1 inches of SWE statewide in the mountains. So that would be the average. I think our average SWE for the state of Colorado to peak out at is 16.8 inches. So I'm going to go slightly below the mountains as well.
Ooh, all right, Cory. So 15.1, right?
15.1 inches of SWE. I'll take
And
that
SWE,
for
by the way,
mountains.
is snow water equivalent. So if you melted down that snow, how many inches of water you would end up with. So just for those of you who might not know what SWE is, So I'm gonna go on the flip side of Cory. I'm gonna go 63 inches in Denver, which would be our biggest snow season since the 2019-2020 winter, which was a good one here along the Front Range. And I'll go 16 inches of SWE. So I'm gonna stay with you in the mountains, slightly below average. I think the Denver area, we got robbed of a few storms last season. We just missed a couple big ones. That's my feeling overall. We just missed a couple big ones. We had that nice string of these kind of northwest flow systems, but kind of in January, February, March. But again, my off the cuff. And for our audience out there, I think I'll speak for you as well, Cory. There's not there's this is at best an educated guess. So this is mostly spitballing, mostly for fun. Please don't take this too seriously and start taking this for real. But my feeling was last season that we just missed probably 5 or 6 pretty prime looking storms, and they just kept missing us. I think we get one good one this year where we get a good foot plus snowstorm, and that will take an overall otherwise average season, boost us a little bit above. So I'm going to go 63 inches in Denver, 16.0 in terms of SWE statewide. And I'm with you in terms of the overall statewide. And Cory, I know you do not have enough of an ego to where you would rather me be right, wouldn't you?
I would, because I'm a storm chaser at heart, and I'm a wish caster, and I want big snow. So if I could just set my knowledge completely aside, I'd predict 100 inches of snow every year in Denver. But you're right. There's absolutely no skill involved in predicting an actual total amount of snow to an inch for an entire season. What NOAA does is, for their winter forecast, is they put probabilities, which is traditionally what meteorologists do. They don't make predictions. They tell you what they break down the probabilities for you. And so what NOAA is saying is that there is a there's a below 50% chance of getting average snow, which means there's about a 60% chance of getting below average snowfall in Denver. So that's not a huge percent, but it is a little bit better than, just saying 50-50, we're going to get average. So they just take average, which is about 56 inches, somewhere that in Denver. And they say there's about a 60% chance that we'll be below that. And that's kind of where I'm at on the same thing, just kind of following suit there.
Absolutely. And that seems probably the wise way to go. I'm probably slightly wish casting. I say 63 inches too, but I do have a slight. It's a feeling too, just a feeling, just feeling we missed on a lot, and I think we both hope I'm right, but Cory, you're right more often than not. And more importantly, we appreciate a few minutes of your time and lending us your expertise and being willing to go on the hot seat and predict the statewide snowpack and the also snow accumulation forecast for Denver down to an inch, Cory.
I think we are I'm going to go out on a limb and say we are the first to make a pre-winter prediction of the exact amount of snow in Denver and the exact amount of SWE for the statewide average snowpack in Colorado. That's a first. So, and I will say this, Chris, I just spoke with the editor of the Farmer's Almanac. Again, I talk to him about almost every year. And as you know, their winter forecast is completely opposite of NOAA's, almost, where they're saying that we're going to be in the hibernation zone and we're going to be shoveling snow in Colorado a lot, which is awesome to hear. And he really specifically likes a big cold snap with a big winter storm in Denver in the month of January. So very specific information coming from them. So he says the cold snap that we just went through, we'll be laughing at that come the end of January. So I don't know. He got me going there. I'm like excited, even though I feel like I'm gonna stick with my I'm gonna stick with just the oceanic science and lean towards maybe not as much snow in January. But like you said, it just takes that one big storm. We could have just an average year, blah blah, but then you get that one storm that delivers 18 inches, and suddenly it changes the entire season because you really 56 inches in a season is not a ton, and it can be altered significantly by one single storm.
All you need is one whopper. And we didn't get one last year. I think our biggest was about 11, 12 inches last year. We had that one in February, which is early February, which is a pretty good one, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, we got on a string there for a while, and you're right. It looked like maybe one of them was going to whop us, but I think we only had one that was in the double digits. So
yeah. So last year, and we got normally to me, having been here for almost 13 years in Denver, it's every other year we get a good storm. And we
mhm.
had one in March 2021. Um, again, I cannot emphasize enough the lack of skill that is being expressed here. Um, but more importantly, Cory, thanks so much for your time and thanks for chatting with us today and lending us your expertise and your um, your ability to, I don't know, take a chance a bit.
Cool,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I love it, and I love your topic for this segment.
and we'll do this again. We'll do this each year.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if we get anywhere near close.
Yeah, watch it be 100 inches or 20. Yeah, but and then we're done. But anyways, Cory
Cool.
Reppenhagen, thanks so much for your time here today.
Yep. See you, man.
See ya.